We're going to be taking a short scenic ride along US 276. Come on, let's go. Alright everyone, today we're going to start off the fall season, we're going to be doing US Highway 276. US 276 is a Carolina's only route as it starts in the Greenville area and heads northwest up into the Appalachian Mountains. And along this short road, we actually get some pretty awesome scenery, especially here in the town of Waynesville, where we get to see all these mountains. And also passes by a couple of state parks. So, let us get started with this short but scenic road. But first, you're watching The TheDerpHog, where I make highways content on all sorts of different topics. If you've been enjoying it, be sure to hit that like button. And if you've been really enjoying it, be sure to smash that subscribe button so you're notified on all future videos. And if you really want to help out the channel, become a member today where you get custom cool emojis, early access to future videos, along with one free extra request per month. And if you don't want to become a member, you can always just pay $3 for a intersection request in future videos. Those highways will be listed down in the description below, and I'll make sure to shout you out when that video releases. So let's get on with the highway. As you can see here, this is the map of US 276 as it runs from a junction with Interstate 385 and 185 in Malden, South Carolina, through the heart of Greenville, and all the way up to a junction with Interstate 40 just north of Waynesville, North Carolina. So with that, we're talking about northbound US 276. So we begin here at the 385 and 185 junction, where you can see that US 276 is just getting time for Malden, which I think is a good choice because it's faster to stay on 385 to get to downtown Greenville rather than to take US 276 on the surface street. And then when we meet the 185 junction, we're now getting time for Malden and Greenville, so well done to differentiate there, SC Dot. And then a little ways up the road, we're now meeting with Interstate 85 proper, getting signed for Atlanta and Spartanburg respectively. I mean, Spartanburg's not a terrible choice, but I would prefer to see Charlotte there instead, because Charlotte is out of state and the biggest city in North Carolina. Here we meet Woodruff Road, or South Carolina Highway 146, and at the 385 and 146 junction, that is always backed up. Like, no matter what time of day, that junction is always backed up. But it looks pretty fine here at the 276 junction here. And then here we meet the northern terminus of Interstate 385 as it's been signed south for Columbia. Now we're going to be heading north into downtown Greenville. Here we go right under US Highway 29 here as US 276 is going to be continuing into downtown. And then on the north side of town, we meet with South Carolina Highway 291 here, which will take you over to Paris Mountain State Park. Here we get our first mileage sign with Furman University on the top line, Traveler's Rest from 6 miles away. Then we get Asheville. This is awesome, SC Dot. I like how you favor other highways sometimes. US 276 doesn't go to Asheville, but they're favoring US 25 here, which is awesome. And here in Traveler's Rest, we meet with US 25, as we're now getting signed for both Marietta and Traveler's Rest, while 25 will take you up into Asheville. And as we split from US Highway 25, we get a 4-line mileage sign here, with Brevard being our ultimate control city from 38 miles away. Man, if I had a nickel for every time I saw a 4-line mileage sign, I've had 2 nickels. Which isn't a lot, but it's weird that I've seen 2 of them, right? Here we meet with South Carolina Highway 288 as it's been signed for Pumpkin Town and Table Rock. Man, I bet Pumpkin Town is very popular in the fall season. I wonder if it has a lot of pumpkins. Wow. Here we are meeting with South Carolina Highway 11 as we're entering into the Appalachian Mountains here. And let us see what we're now signed for on South Carolina 11. Now we're getting signed for Table Rock and Caesar's Head State Park. Strange, I wonder why we're getting 2 state parks instead of Brevard. Where did Brevard go, South Carolina? And here we pass by Caesar's Head State Park, so that's pretty cool. And they're now entering into the state of North Carolina. Let us see what North Carolina has to offer. Also, we're now crossing the Eastern Continental Divide. And like North Carolina does, we get a welcome to North Carolina sign as we're half a mile into the state. Also, we're entering into Transylvania County. Woo! And here in Brevard, we meet with US Highway 64. And we're now signed a north-south road instead of an east-west road, so that's pretty interesting. And we saw this in the US 64 video a couple months ago, where you get a mileage sign for the 3 different highways. Waynesville is for US 276, Asheville is for North Carolina 280, while US 64 is going to be going to Hendersonville. And here is where these 3 highways all disperse from each other as we're now heading north towards Waynesville. And here we're now getting a sign telling us that there are going to be 15-mile-an-hour curves and truckers need to use 9% grade. And we're going to be extending 4,500 feet for the next 30 miles. And we're also going to be entering the Saiga National Forest, so yay, more scenery. And while in the National Forest, we actually passed by the Blue Ridge Parkway, which is a very amazing road. I recommend traveling it on someday. I was on it in the Waynesville area, and it was absolutely stunning. And we can see that we're now getting signed for Waynesville still, so that's pretty cool. And then outside the Waynesville area, we meet with North Carolina 215 and 116 here, as we're going to continue into downtown. And here's my own picture as US 276 is entering into the downtown Waynesville area. And we can see that Business 23 is being signed for Silva and Asheville, so that's pretty cool. And here's my own picture of the Waynesville, North Carolina sign, the gateway to the Great Smoky Mountains, a town I should definitely recommend. And after going through downtown, US 276 splits off from US 23 Business, as it's going to be continuing north towards the Lake Junaluska and Maggie Valley area. And here to meet with US 23 and 74 proper. And if you want to check out a video on US 23, it's in the top right corner here. And I will be doing a video on US 74 soon, so stay tuned for that. And these 2 highways are signed for Silva and Asheville respectively, which are good choices. And here to meet with US Highway 19, my own picture. And we're going to have a wrong-way concurrency with US Highway 19 as we head toward Maggie Valley. And this is where we split off from US Highway 19, as we're now getting signed for Knoxville. Well, that's because we're going to be meeting Interstate 40, which will take us up to Knoxville. We actually don't make it to Knoxville ourselves. So that's pretty cool that NCDOT is favoring Interstate 40 here. But after those pretty scenic 5 miles, we do end at Interstate 40. And surprise, surprise, we do not get Knoxville as our control city, we just get Newport. Come on, NCDOT, you're signing Knoxville at the 19 and 276 junction. Why can't you not sign it here? Why? Why do you have to be a nuisance sometimes, NCDOT? And if we follow the 40 westbound ramp towards Newport, we end here as we merge into Interstate 40 with this awesome scenic view of the mountains. So with that, I'm turning around and doing southbound US 276. So we begin here on Interstate 40 itself. We're getting signed south for Maggie Valley, which is an alright choice because if you're coming this direction on Interstate 40 westbound, you would have already taken US 74 to get into Waynesville. So Maggie Valley is fine here. And then once you exit onto US 276, we get our first reassurance shield, and this is my own picture. As US 276 will also take you to the Wheels Through Time Museum in Maggie Valley. And this stretch of US Highway 276 is very scenic, as you get to see mountains on every side of the road here. And after a short scenic trip, we reunite with US Highway 19, and we're going to be joining with 19 northbound as we head towards Waynesville. And we saw this in the US 19 series, where we see that US 19 and 276 split off from each other. And hey, they did add this arrow, so no longer confusing people. Well done, NC Dot. And as we're about to enter into downtown Waynesville, we meet with US 23 and 74 once again. And here is where we meet with US 23 Business as we head into downtown Waynesville. And here is a picture of downtown Waynesville. And if you ever go to the Waynesville area, there is a place that I would definitely recommend. It's called the Church Street Depot, which they have the best, or at least what I think is their best burgers and shakes in town. It was absolutely delicious. I definitely recommend going there. Plus, I am wearing their shirt right now. And this is where we split off from US Highway 23 as US 276, and I'm heading south towards Brevard. And we can see at the North Carolina 215 and 110 junction, US 276 is being signed south for Brevard. And here we meet the Blue Ridge Parkway once again, and like we saw going northbound, we are still getting signed for Brevard. And then skipping ahead to the Brevard area, we meet with US 64, and we're now going to be current with 64 westbound here. And this is where we leave US Highway 64 to continue south towards Greenville and the state of South Carolina. And after wandering through more of the mountains, we're now entering into the state of South Carolina. So let's see what South Carolina has to offer on southbound 276. And here we meet with South Carolina Highway 11 here, as we're now getting signed for Travelers Rest and Greenville, which are great choices. Here we meet with South Carolina 288 once again, and going this direction on 276, we just get Pumpkin Town from 10 miles away. Great, now I want pumpkin themed stuff. Please give me my pumpkins. Here we meet with US Highway 225 in the Travelers Rest area, as it's being signed for Anderson and Greenwood, while we're now getting signed for Greenville, respectively. But when US 275 actually splits off from us, it's getting signed south for Atlanta. I mean, US 25 doesn't go to Atlanta, but this is totally cool. Well done, South Carolina. I was not expecting that. And here on US 276 itself, we just get a one-liner for Greenville from 7 miles away. I mean, kind of makes sense. And on our way to Greenville, we passed by Furman University. And today I learned that it was in South Carolina. Here on the outskirts of Greenville, we meet with South Carolina Highway 291. And we meet with US Highway 29, and we're now getting signed south for Lawrence this time. Strange. Here we meet with the northern terminus of Interstate 385, as it's going to be signed for Columbia. And we are going to be doing Interstate 385 next week, so stay tuned for that. And here we meet Woodruff Road once again, South Carolina Highway 146, as it's being signed for the name of the road, Woodruff. Here we meet with Interstate 85 being signed for Spartanburg and Atlanta respectively. And then before we merge into Interstate 385, we could pull through for both 385 and 185 here, as 185 will take you over to Atlanta and Anderson, while 385 is now getting signed for Simpsonville and Columbia. And we end here at Interstate 385, where 276 traffic merges into Interstate 385 to continue places beyond the Greenville area. So with that, we end US Highway 276 and we move on to all the places I'll go / recommend, because I've been on a little bit of US 276 and I'd like to recommend some places. So first, we have the places that I'd like to visit, including the Table Rock State Park, the unincorporated community of Pumpkin Town, Caesar's Head State Park, and the town of Brevard. And some places I recommend is downtown Greenville and all of its attractions, and then town of Travelers Rest, and then the Waynesville area and its attractions, along with Maggie Valley, and finally the Blue Ridge Parkway. And that ends US Highway 276. Thank you all so much for watching this short episode on US Highway 276. I hope you got to learn a little bit more about this cool and scenic highway. I mean, it's pretty short, but it is very, very scenic, especially in the Waynesville area. So with that, here are my next few highways. If you have any intersection requests, please let me know down in the comment section below. and I'll make sure to show you out once these highways release. So thank you guys for watching, and I'll see y'all next week still in the Greenville area as we reboot 385. Bye!